Alright, so I felt the need to make this video because, as many of you know, I like to make radical-ish, not radical, but I like to make videos about religion, about God, about, my own atheism. That's something I like to talk about, and many people know I'm very passionate about what I believe. I'm very passionate about my ideas, regarding religion and regarding the problems, the flaws I see with religion. That's something that I care a lot about. The reason for that is from my personal experience. I see how it affects kids. I see how it affects a lot of people. And I feel like it's important for me to talk about it. It's important for me to explain my positions, whether it be an emotional argument or an intellectual argument. Both of them are completely legitimate, and both of them, I think, are very useful because they present some of the emotional flaws, yet I can also present certain intellectual flaws. And it's interesting because some Christians have complained that my videos were emotional arguments, which is a big part of what a lot of Christians use, are arguments from emotion, from their own experiences, which is, emotional arguments. Some arguments of, I know there's a God out there somewhere, arguments from emotion. Yet when I do it, I'm just completely irrational. I think there's room for both. I don't try to hate on emotional arguments, and as long as there's a logical argument there also, there shouldn't be an absence of logical argument, but I think there's room to explain things from an emotional standpoint. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about that, like I said, I am very passionate about what I believe in. But I want to be very clear here that my gripe isn't necessarily towards theists. My gripe isn't necessarily towards your specific religion. It may be towards your denomination, but my gripe is towards mostly individual people and individual religious ideas that I find fault with. I have a good friend who was a Christian, and he was talking about my videos about how I was he said something about me generalizing Christians. I then explained to him, no, I'm not generalizing Christians, I'm attacking a certain idea, not Christians in general. But I think a lot of people seem to think that I generalize and attack all religious people. So I want to be clear here that I do respect some religious people, and I disrespect some atheists. What it comes down to is, I have my belief. I think there's no God. That's what I've come up with based on what I've seen, etc. If you believe in a God, that's fine with me. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to believe. I'm simply telling people what I believe and why. But what I will tell people, in the sense of what they should do, is that they shouldn't disrespect me or try to tell me that I'm going to hell because of my beliefs. As much as people may try to make it seem otherwise, I believe that telling someone to go to hell is hate speech. You have every right to hold that position. You have every right to hold that opinion. But if you really cared about me, you say that you care about us when you tell us we're going to hell. If you really cared about us, you would let us make that choice. You would let us make the choice to live our life the best that we can. And we will see what happens in the end. See, that's the atheistic logic. Is there a slight, very, very slim possibility that we could go to hell? That the world could, when we're done, when we're dead, that there's actually a God, and it's your Christian God, it's that exact God, and we're going to hell? Is there a very slim chance? Is there a chance of that? Yes. Do I think it's very, 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 very times 20,000 billion times, you get the point. Slim? Yeah, I do. I think it's a very slim chance. But I don't believe people should be harassed. And I think it's harassment to constantly be telling someone, you are going to go to hell. You know, that, and especially for younger people, that's a very scary idea. And most people who believe in hell, it's because they grew up believing in hell. I never grew up believing in hell. And as such, I've never believed in hell. Ever. And I never will. Because I've never grown up with that belief. So it's not something that I have to escape as a belief. But it's still very much around me, and I can't help but be affected by people constantly saying that. But if you believe in God and you have your reasons, I'm not going to knock you for that. You know, I know a lot of atheists that will knock you for that, who will attack you, metaphorically, for the fact that you believe in God. I don't believe in doing that. I present my arguments, but I believe that people should be respected and shouldn't be considered delusional because they've looked at the evidence and thought maybe there is a God. Thought they believe in a higher power of some sort. That's not as far-fetched as some atheists try to make it seem. It's a very common belief, and I know the idea of just because everyone thinks it's true doesn't make it true. And that everyone's delusional, believes in God, yada yada yada. But at the same time, it is a common idea. People do grow up with the belief in God. And there is stuff we don't understand. And that's usually what people attribute to God, or say this is because of a higher power. For me, God was always my conscience. Something that when I became an atheist, I lost contact almost at times with the conscience, because I called it God at the time. But sometimes I can just talk to my conscience, in a sense. And that was what I used to call God. It's, and some Christians will say, well, it is God. You're just calling it your conscience. But you can't prove that. And I'm still learning and working to understand what it is, how the human mind works, how, what that is that people are kind of talking to themselves. What's that voice people sometimes hear? Not all people hear it. Not all people have it. But I've always kind of experienced sort of like I'm talking to myself, but it's like a different part of myself, a reassuring part of myself. Sort of an introspective thing. But I'm really going off topic a little bit. I'm sorry, but my point is here. I don't hate on religious people. I don't like ignorant religious people. Ignorant atheists, they bother me. But to be honest, because I agree with them, it's not right, but because I agree with them, they can bother me a lot less than ignorant religious people. And so, let me just be clear, my gripe is with the ignorant religious people. And if you're religious, I could still respect you, I can still like you, I can still agree with you on a lot of things, and I could even like your religious perspective. So, I'm just saying, I'm fairly open-minded, and I don't have a problem with you just because you're religious, or just because you believe in God, or just because you're a Christian. I'm not going to hold it against you. Yeah. Spike here. Peace out.